Hang on. So I wanted to.
Hello, and welcome to another War Thunder special. We are today talking about, I guess, whatever comes to mind, but in particular, this thing, the AC-4, which is apparently an Australian-made tank, which is, like, unbelievable. And it was built in 1943. Like, looking at this thing, I expected, like, at least 1949, maybe in the 50s. Made with World War II parts, but this thing is, yeah, it's the real deal, and it's awesome.
I mean, if you didn't hear that, which this is a special video here, because I happened to, I was looking at this. Oh, it's got Sherman tracks too. Look at that.
Yeah.
The rubber tracks. Oh my God. But I was looking for something that I just saw in a battle, some German thing, I think. And I stumbled upon this, and I was like, oh, look, it's a Crusader with a 17-pounder on it, because I love that gun, and I love the Crusader. But I was like, no, this is way different. And it's pretty fucking nuts. I mean, first, well, Max, just because I read the thing, it was designed in 1943, basically, by the Australians, and it says it's 400 ordered, but I highly doubt they ever made 400, because I know that Australia had huge supply shortages because the Japanese took over all the islands and basically cut off Australia from the rest of the world. But I know that they were made because it exists in War Thunder and there's pictures of it. But I mean, this is just nuts.
Yeah, this is really, truly an incredibly designed tank for 1943. Now, all of the armor values are 1943 based. Like, the turret is all 2 1/4 or 2.5 inches, and the front armor is all 2-inch, and I think that's 2.5 right in front of the transmission. But that's fine, because if you get a shell through there, the transmission is going to eat it up. Unless you have some super high penning thing, it's gonna be eaten up there. So, and then this is 66 degrees. Like, that is really good.
Not that it makes much of a difference, but the top one's 67. And, I mean, the only thing that comes even remotely close to that is the T-34. And I don't even know what the penetration statistics are at 67, because I've only had it go up to 60 ever.
Yeah, it only goes up to 60.
World War II. Nothing else from World War II has more than 60 degrees slope. It does not exist, I don't think. And I mean, and 50.8 is the thickness of the M3 Sherman.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's a 2-inch, yeah.
And that's at, I forget what that's like 55 or something, which is a good, you know, if you're angled to a tank, that, you know, not much can get through that. Maybe the Panzer IV.
Oh my God! You know, I just noticed something else. You just mentioned the Sherman, and I was like, oh, I better look at that -10 degree gun depression.
Oh. Really?
Yeah.
How?
I don't know. I don't know how. How does that fit? Oh, yeah, well, because they've got that weird hump in the middle of the turret. I guess it could, yeah.
Yeah, wow.
That's really impressive. If you added 10 degrees to that...
No less.
Yeah, from the Australians. And the is too, I mean, we'll talk about this more later, but it's not just the outside of this tank that's designed well. I mean, obviously the armament is very good, and I don't know from a perspective of the actual tank. Could have been that there were mechanical failures all the time, you have no idea. But they have built their own version of the multibank. This is 3 V8 blocks put together into one engine.
Oh my God.
That is just... It's genius, really. I mean, it's the same thing that Chrysler did, and obviously that was successful. And so why not do it? Why not do it again with the stuff you got?
Three V8s, and I would like to point out that transmission I recognize is the exact same one that's in the Sherman.
Well, it's modeled as the same one. We don't know if it is or not, but it's modeled as the same.
I think it is though. 20.
Well,
could you go to the Sherman and check the max speed on that? Because then I could tell you. 5 forward gears, 1 reverse.
Well, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's the same. You'd have to pick, because War Thunder doesn't model the transmissions accurately.
It does though. All of them look starkly different from one another, from
They model them differently, but they don't model them exactly. You know what I'm saying?
Only reason I say that is because the tracks are from a Sherman, or at least some early war American tank, and it looks to me like the suspension. I don't know what you call it on the tank. Is it called suspension?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's still suspension. It does the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not the same as the Sherman suspension.
That's an American. It looks to me like that's an American designed suspension system as well. So
I don't think it is. I personally don't think it is. I definitely think it's the Sherman tracks, but I think that is their own suspension system because I've never seen that in an American tank before. I would imagine that would be the case.
No, it is.
You think? What
close to it.
What is it?
Yeah, no, that definitely is.
Which tank?
On the M4. M4. And it's the same transmission. It looks exactly the same.
Just the straight up M4?
Wait a minute. I may be wrong about the transmission. But yeah. But that looks to be like almost the exact
No, it's not.
Transmission.
The regular M4, it's not the same. Now those are the old. Those came off of Caterpillar tractors. The M3 Lee design and the original M4A1 and the M4. They
not
came
the
off.
M3. Just the M3 Sherman with the
M4 Sherman.
You know excuse me, yeah, M4 Sherman.
Just the regular M4, not M4A1, just M4.
Yeah, just M4.
Yeah, it's not. That's not the case. They're totally different. You can take a look at it if you like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but these I know the story of these is, well, I guess I should say always, as far as I know. All right, now I can tell. Yeah, so this was a design that was originally used in an American Caterpillar tractor, except it only had 2 of them, if I remember correctly. And the tracks and stuff were adapted with the suspension system to be remade for the tank, and obviously with stiffer springs and probably larger and stuff like that. But yeah, they basically came right off of a tractor that had been used for a little while and had some success, which is great when you can do that in the military, because when you find something that's successful and works, then you don't have to do the research on it. You don't have to work to find something that's going to be reliable. You have something that's reliable, so you just might as well add it to the tank. So yeah. But yeah, this British, the AC4, that is definitely some kind of... Yeah, it's an incredible tank, but it's definitely a proprietary suspension system, because I've never seen it before. Although it's a good design. I mean, I've seen designs similar where you have the springs in the middle and you have the 2 wheels that aren't necessarily independent, but they are also kind of independent. Tank.
I wonder though why they would have cannibalized the tracks and not the suspension system.
Well, I'm actually looking at the image on Wikipedia right now, and it does not have the Sherman track.
Oh, yeah.
So this might be a prototype tank, or it could just be.
I see one with the Sherman track.
You do, yeah, because I'm looking at this one. This one's just not. So I imagine it came with both, and it also has the regular British style spur gear or. Sprocket?
I got
what
one
you call
with
it?
the
Sprocket,
Sherman track on it.
You got one with a Sherman track?
Yeah.
So, 30 tons mass. Yeah, this says 26.4, close enough. Yeah, 2.5 inches, 64 millimeters, 1 3/4 inches in the sides and rear, 2.5 inches all around the turret, 17 pounder, 50 to 60 rounds, 303 Vickers machine gun, Perrier Cadillac, 397 horsepower, 13.2 horsepower per ton. Perrier Cadillac, what?
It's turret rotation speed. 10.7. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Holy cow, look at this thing. This thing is incredible. Yeah, it's literally 3 flathead V8s put together.
Oh my lord.
Yeah, the 24-cylinder Cadillac 4175 displaced 1,039 cubic inch or 17 liters and produced 397 horsepower. The engine weighed around 3,000 pounds.
Oh my god. I mean, look at the fuel tank on the thing. Like that's a solid what, sixth of the entire like volume of the tank there, or maybe like a that's a good portion of the fucking thing.
Yeah, so the AC-3 also used this, which was the predecessor to this tank that we're looking at right now. And yeah, let's read some more about it. Cloverleaf Cadillac Power Package produced 330 horsepower at 3,050 RPM and was somewhat successful powering 65 AC-1 tanks. However, the rear engine did experience occasional cooling issues as a result of unequal cooling flow. That makes sense.
I wonder why. It's only 3 V8s.
Yeah, right. The Cloverleaf's 3 drive shafts, remote transfer box, and separate cooling systems added weight and complexity. Really? They weren't like combined? Yeah, that's kind of stupid. And
it's the Australians.
Yeah, as the Australian cruiser tank Mark III AC-3 was being designed in 1941, engineer Robert Perrier sought to simplify the Cloverleaf Cadillac power package. Perrier, a Frenchman, had been sent to Japan by the French government in 1940 and had subsequently made his way to Australia as Japan entered the war. The AC-3 Thunderbolt was an improved AC-1 with better armor, protection, and firepower. To increase the performance of the 3 Cadillac 75 engines, Perrier mounted them radially to a common crankcase made from steel plates welded together. One engine was mounted on top of the crankcase, and the other 2 were mounted 60 degrees to the left and right on top of the engine. On the top engine. This configuration resulted in a rather odd-looking engine with its lower cylinder banks some 210 degrees apart. The engine was known as the Perrier Cadillac 4175. It was a lighter, more compact power package than the Cloverleaf configuration. Yeah, that's pretty insane.
It was a Frenchman, too.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it makes sense. Who else is going to come up with an idea like that? Except GM, apparently.
Yeah, outside of the box. Yeah, outside of the fucking box thinking there, my lord.
And it's so funny because, like, GM designed their own block and designed everything. They just literally took 3 V8s and put them together. You know, yeah. I mean, GM designed a block and then put 5 6-cylinder, cylinder banks on it. They didn't, just strap them all together. These guys literally built a frame in which you could mount 3 V8s to it and then built them together. Yeah. That's amazing. I'm gonna take a picture of that.
Moving away from the engine, oh shit, mine stopped recording.
Did it? I'm still going. No, I'm still going.
Oh, are you? Yeah. Oh, good. Well then, if you take a look at the turret, the British really like, I don't know why, but they like this sort of squashed down turret,
Yeah.
And it's a good design because it kind of has a lower profile than a traditional one with like straight edges on the sides. But I don't know how in the hell they got, because this is a massive gun for 1943.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's high velocity. I mean, they had trouble mounting the 76W gun in the Sherman. And this is not a Sherman. This is significantly smaller, I think, than the Sherman. In terms of the turret size, I would imagine. But,
yeah, I would think so, yeah.
I mean, they got the thing to go negative 10-degree cut depression on it.
Yeah.
How?
Yeah, it's really impressive.
It really is.
I mean, I'm looking at the turret rotation speed. It seems pretty slow, so it's probably hand cranked.
10.7 though is better than
30,
I would expect.
36 seconds to go all the way around.
Yeah, that's bad. But what's the well, let me look at a normal Crusader.
Just to continue.
Oh yeah, 25.2. Never mind.
Yeah. For just a short second to continue. There was another engine in development for this, which was, instead of 3 V8s put together, was 4 cylinders put together, which was air-cooled and was lighter and significantly more powerful. It was overhead valve rather than flathead, and the block was designed thinner with the air cooling. It didn't have to worry about a coolant system, and the engine's cooling was overall more effective because it only had 16 cylinders. It was arranged in an H pattern, which basically means you had two flat eights on top of each other, but it did share a single crankcase, more like the multibank, the Chrysler multibank. It made where is it? 510 horsepower, 16-cylinder engines, 24.5 liters.
Really?
And it only weighed 1,500 pounds, so it weighed half as much, was larger, and produced 510 horsepower. It was called.
Was it not flathead?
No, it was not. It was overhead valve. Yep, it was overhead valve air cooled.
That must be why.
Yep. It made that at 2,500 RPMs, 1,495 cubic inches. It was called the Quad Gypsy engine, and it went on to be an extremely successful engine for the Australian military.
Yeah, that sounds like a hell of an engine.
Yeah.
500, what did you say? 35 horsepower?
510 horsepower.
510. That's impressive. Out of that's nuts.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's a 25-liter H16, so it's certainly it's not good by modern standards, but it's for compared to its weight and the Cloverleaf 3V8s. I mean 3,000 pounds and 400 horsepower versus 1,500 pounds and 510. That's a pretty decent reduction in weight for the added benefits of horsepower.
So. Yeah, my God, you're shaving off half a ton.
Yeah.
Excuse me,
more than half a ton. Yeah. So, but anyway, I'm now at 17 minutes, so we're 2 minutes over. Yeah. But this has been the AC4. Yeah, really, truly incredible. It's amazing to me.
I want it.
Yeah, it's amazing to me that these tanks go under the radar. Like, some of the most amazing tanks ever built in World War II that were actually designed and ready to be built in World War II never happened, either because of material shortages, like in the case of Australia, or other things. The Germans are the same way.
Oh, God.
They had incredible tanks in World War II, don't get me wrong, but they had even more incredible designs on the way that just never really got done. And yeah, it's just.
You look at the Mouse. Only one of them was finished, and what it killed 12 tanks.
Yeah, I believe it was 12 tanks. Now we would have to look that up, but I do believe it was 12 tanks. That the only operable Mouse. Yeah.
Insanity.
So.
I have never heard of this. I've never seen it in my life, and seeing that it had not only the 17-pounder, which is good enough on its own. You can put that on any tank, and it'll be good. Like the Americans do the same thing. It's on a bunch of shit. All of it's pretty good.
Yeah.
But this is with the 67 or 66 degree armor slope like that. That is. I can't think of anything that comes close to the firepower and the protection that you would get against. Nothing could go through this. Nothing.
Yeah, not for the time. Well, I mean, if we were going by time, but of course it's not. It's going by BR. So I'm sure there are plenty of things that can go through BR. But
you also got to think too. This is going up against the Japanese in most instances.
Probably.
Yeah, you've seen the Japanese tanks.
Mm-hmm.
They ain't getting through this in a million years. So,
yeah, probably not.
No. But yeah, anyway.
Well, that will be it for this War Thunder special. I'll get back to it real quick just so you can take one last look at it. Just a fantastic tank. Now, I have no idea how it is in the game. I've never played it before, and I probably won't get a chance to play it for a very long time. But, you know how we are. We just like the history. I like the mechanics. I like how things are designed. And I just really find it so interesting how fantastic designs like this fly under the radar with nobody ever really getting it done. Because if this had been made in bulk, this would have dominated the battlefield, for sure. Especially if it had some modern upgrades later in the war, like hydraulic turret and a better engine and a couple of other things. I mean, it just would have totally dominate the battlefield. So, but anyway, hope you enjoyed. Please like, comment, subscribe, and one thing I should add. Most of these are just our opinions, and just based off of what little information we could find in the 20 minutes that we've been looking at this tank. So, if any details are inaccurate, don't get too mad. We literally just found it. So, if I were to do an extensive research project on it and make an entire video based off of this tank, I'm sure all of my information would be accurate, and I would make sure to point out details of inaccuracies in articles or whatever else that I may have read, not written. So, anyway, bye.